People of the internet, welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. Got a video pulled up here. Comes from the Hardly Initiated podcast YouTube channel here on YouTube, in which it looks like I have a video, of course, entitled, "Is Polygamy the Solution for Single Women?" It looks like it's a debate between two pastors, if I'm not mistaken, asking, two gentlemen are debating if polygyny, I've been hearing it pronounced two different ways, but is that the solution for single women? Of course, I see a video, I see a thumbnail, I see a title, it strikes my interest. I'll be sure to share my thoughts. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get into it.
Polygyny absolutely is God's way of taking care of women. There's no question about it. It is the solution that the church ignores. Got a great book right here by Clyde Pilkington Jr. called The Great Omission, and he specifically discusses the fact that the church ignores and gives lip service to single women, but they don't have answers and they don't have a solution, and they're not willing to look at what Scripture actually says. So benefits to women. This is a benefit. Number one, a woman doesn't have to go checking a bar or doesn't have to go looking around askance at men that she works with or whatever else if she wants to find a godly man. She can actually find a proven godly man. She can look in the fellowship and say, there's a family that I would love to be a part of. There's a man that I'm willing to follow, that he can be the head of the house. The power dynamic is obvious because the man is supposed to be the leader. And under any leader, you can always have multiples of followers at every level. We see that always. St. Augustine actually made a specific statement about that effect when he said that by a law of nature, that things set over have a multiplicity under them, and he talked positively about polygyny as part of that dynamic. In a polygynous situation, not only do women have the opportunity to find a godly man who's a proven man, but they also can bring their best skill sets and their best things to the table, and bring that to if the man's leading properly, to a team, such that the team through the team everybody benefits more. I know that my ladies particularly enjoy having a night off from cooking periodically. They share the chores for the things, and I've got both ladies that have and produce income as well as part of contributing to the family as a whole. And so they get to each work within their strengths instead of trying to be all, anyone to be the end all be all do all for the man. Instead, it's a team dynamic. The ladies have friends for life, get to hang out. It's best friends. And for them, it's a fantastic situation where they get to share life. Women by nature are communal. Men are not necessarily so. God designed us this way, and he designed us to function well. And he set the system up this way. And we see, just as my brother said before, that he's the one that gave David his wives. We see that he uses that in many other ways. And it is a system whereby he regulates it, yes, to protect, but the guardrails are there. And as long as you stay inside of the guardrails, you can walk in righteousness.
Pause right there before the other gentlemen, I guess, share their take as well, too. Very interesting, folks. So there you heard it there. Sounds like that was, what is this? Peter, what's his name? Peter Bambo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Seems to be, what is he? Let me see if I get some details here. Sorry, I don't know all the details. I don't know if he's a pastor, bishop. Forgive me. He's a man in favor of polygamy, and says that he is in favor of it. And of course, you heard him list out his reasons as to some of the benefits of doing so. He was speaking personally in terms of how he and his partners, female partners, can divvy up the chores, and women can bring their best resources to the table, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. It's very interesting. I had a conversation with somebody who, this is like maybe some months ago, actually. Now, I had a conversation with a couple, actually. I met a dude on the internet, of course, who shared his experience. He was actually in that situation as well, too, and it gave me a lot of insight. He, too, brought up situations of just from the financial standpoint, how all parties were working, all parties were financially bringing something to the table, all parties had specific skill sets that were useful to the household as a whole. I think they even had children as well, too. And it was very interesting. From I guess you could say from a technical standpoint, it kind of made sense to me. In terms, again, and just, not too long ago, I was just speaking on just how poverty is a thing in America right now. We're seeing people losing jobs. We're seeing people, struggling to find work. We're seeing people down on hard times. So financially speaking, under, the more the merrier, under a household bringing in multiple streams of income from a financial standpoint, I do see how one would argue in favor of polygamy. And then, of course, we have other aspects as well too. So morally, ethically, spiritually, religiously, those are going to be some other elements that people have to take into consideration as well too. I want to watch a little bit more. It looks like there's another gentleman that's going to share his. Again, this is a debate, so it looks like there's another gentleman that's going to share his stance as well too. I want to hear both sides real quick, and then of course I'll be sure to share my thoughts. As always, I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get back into it.
Opening statements, both opposing parties. This is incredible. I mean, we got the chat is going bananas. There's literally people passing out in the chat right now.
Pete got people clutching their pearls right now.
It's really going down. I'm gonna read this, and we're gonna give Brother Damon a chance to respond to this. Shout out to Chris Cross. Says, neither shall he multiply wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall he greatly multiply silver and gold for himself. Deuteronomy 17:17. Please stop condoning this, people. This is why we have problems now. Chris Cross, we appreciate you, love you, and let's get back to it.
And I want to ask Pete real quick, just for context, your wives, do they all currently live under the same roof, or do they have?
Yes. Well, yes. It's here in a short period of time, we'll all be under the one roof permanently. We've had a situation where one works out of country periodically, and so she's gone for periods of time, but she's always glad to be back. My first wife is glad to have her back. We're glad to be together. We enjoy being together.
And I'm gonna be honest, I'm just so curious about this, fellas. When we do Q&A, if y'all want to bring your wives on, I'm just really curious to hear some perspective. I'll be glad to have them come on and share some perspective from the other side, because the ladies in the chat going crazy right now.
Yeah,
I want to go ahead and give my brother Damon a chance to have a rebuttal. We're gonna put 5 minutes on the clock for the rebuttal, and then we move into our discussion right after. It's an open discussion, open forum for us to be able to really dialogue.
I got a text supporting Damon. It just says, Damon, please go off. We need you to go off.
So go ahead, Damon. When you start talking, the 5 minutes will start.
All right. Okay, good. Let me start now. So I want to go back to something that Pete said. I picked up on his assumptiveness. He said it's an opportunity for a woman to find a godly man. Well, that assumes that the only opportunity for a woman to find a godly man is in a polygamous relationship. Why can't it be said that a single woman can find a godly man that's single and available? So you draw the assumption that what makes polygamy so attractive to women is that it's her opportunity to find a godly man. But what is it about a polygamous relationship that inherently makes that man godly? And furthermore, men in polygamous relationships can still be adulterers and cheat outside of that. So there is nothing about a polygamous relationship that necessarily makes that man godly, nor even in that description shows any real benefit for the woman. The other thing that I mentioned is the relational power dynamic. See, men will lie and act like these don't exist, but here's the reality. Is what we do see in scripture, Genesis 29, between Rachel and Leah, we see that same kind of power dynamic. Why? Well, the scripture tells us that Jacob favored Rachel over Leah. It is sinfully inevitable that a man that is married to more than one woman is not going to favor one greater than the other, which is going to cause chaos in the home, jealousy, strife, envy, and all kinds of ungodly outcomes, just as we've seen in the Genesis 29 dynamic. So you cannot possibly pull something favorable and attractive out of that for women. That doesn't give women a whole lot good to look forward to. What that does is it gives women a whole lot of tension to look forward to, because that is the inevitable outcome of the dynamic of a polygamous relationship. And a man trying to act like it's all good and gravy is not really being honest. So there is really nothing beneficial in our social cultural context about a woman going into a polygamous relationship. Not only that, but I would also mention that in a polygamous relationship, there is limited agency or control that women actually have over their lives. What you just described, Pete, is just sister wives. Tell me what's so beneficial about that. You're talking about women being communal. Listen, women spend most of their time competing with other women. The reason they wear red hair has nothing to do with what men desire. That's what they want to do to compete with women. The reason that they go get a Brazilian butt lift is not about men. It's about women. They are constantly competing with other women. You bring that into a dynamic where they have to compete for the time and the affection of one single man, and you have a powder keg waiting in your home. There is absolutely zero beneficial for a single woman in a polygamous relationship.
Interesting. Okay, nice. So that was enough to give us a little bit of context. Of course, it looks like that was from a 3.5 hour debate that took place. Of course, that was a clip. What we just watched this now was a clip from a 3.5 hour debate. But of course, we got to hear at least both sides. We got one gentleman's side in favor of polygamy. We had another gentleman on that was against it. For some people, of course, there's nothing to debate. There's nothing to ponder on. Some people are strictly against it based off of whatever, whether that be spiritual, religious beliefs, whether that just be their own, where they scale their ethics and values and morals, whatever the case is, and that's completely fine. So for some people, there's nothing to debate. There's nothing to debate. There's no confusion. That's completely fine. There's both men and women who are strongly against it. There's both men and women who are strongly for it. For me, in general, I'll say this, right? Again, if we're talking about just different factors, of course, when in the beginning of this video, I was saying from a financial standpoint, just put everything out to the side for a second, from a survival standpoint, right? From a survival standpoint, in terms of just like financial health, financial betterment, whatever the case is, I do see how one would entertain the idea of polygamy, whereas there's 2 adults, 3 adults, whatever the case is. I guess you could say 3 adults in a household bringing in multiple streams of income to see to it that they are financially secure. Again, not too long ago, I think in another video, I was just speaking about how poverty has grown here in America, and most people are one emergency away from being poor, being in poverty, whatever the case is. So from a financial standpoint, hear me out. From a financial standpoint, I do see how more heads are better than one in our current economy now, right? So if there's 3 people in a household that can divvy up the responsibilities, divvy up the financial, burdens or whatever the case is, financial responsibilities, where, in some situations, 1 people or 2 people are struggling, I do see how that could be beneficial. Now, let's talk about the other elements, right? So morally speaking, ethically speaking, I guess even, religiously speaking. I'll say this. In my personal opinion, I think, because again, it sounds like both parties were pulling from the Bible for both things. So it looks like there was scriptures in the Bible that people were finding that was in favor of it, and there was scriptures in the Bible that were against it. I would say, morally speaking, it's all going to be based upon a person. This is going to be very subjective on a person's upbringing, on a person's spiritual beliefs, what are the cases. For me personally, I would say that it takes responsible, mature adults to even be able to entertain the idea of a polygamous relationship. Am I going to say that it's morally and ethically wrong? Me personally, I can't say that I don't see how it's morally and ethically wrong necessarily. I'm not necessarily saying it's for me either, in saying that. So please don't, mix up what I'm saying. But I could see how, if done responsibly and correctly, that people would entertain the idea of being in a polygamous relationship. I also say this as well too. The world is changing, folks. I've been saying this for some time. I forgot not too long ago. I might have did a video on this as well too, but there was some study, if I'm not mistaken, on the internet that predicted that by 2030 or by 2030 or 2035, I forgot what it was, that I forgot the percentage, but it was a large percentage of women were going to be single, unmarried, without kids by the year 2030, 2035. I forgot where I saw that stat, but I think I did do a video on that as well too. The world is changing, folks. I think our culture, just culturally and socially speaking, we've grown in a generation that has made normal the side chick, right? A side chick is a role that some people wear as a badge of honor. Some people wear I'm the side chick, I'm the side piece as a badge of honor. We are in those times currently. Let's not be naive to this the current cultural status of just relationship dynamics between men and women in our current times. So we have slide in the DMs culture. We have the advent of dating apps and this, that, whatever. So it's just like the times have changed. So to be completely honest, I personally wouldn't be shocked if this was a new way of life moving forward based off of what we see, because nowadays, I always say this as well too, it seems like it's almost normal to hear, oh, we got a divorce. Well, why did you guys divorce? Oh, he cheated. Oh, she cheated. Oh, why did you guys break up? Oh, she cheated. He cheated. And again, I'm being conscious not to say, one over the other. Both men and women are capable of cheating. But it seems like, again, just culturally speaking, we've almost grown numb to the idea of people being, stepping out of their marriages or having multiple partners, whatever the case is. I think I even tweeted this not too long ago. I might even said it in a video here as well too, where I said that we should maybe revisit the idea of the traditional definition of what we consider marriage, and just have mutual understandings. I titled it. I'm coining the term. I'm in a mutual understanding. I think mutual understanding should be the new relationship status, and that's just basically two consenting of strong mind, strong body adults who have sat down on a table and came up to terms that make sense for them. I think that just makes the most sense. I think if two adults, again, of sound mind and sound body, sat down and came down to the terms of the things that they like in a relationship, things that they don't like, things that they're willing to accept in a relationship, things that they don't willing to accept, and those things could fall outside of what we consider the traditional norms in a relationship, I think that's okay. So again, folks, just the times that we're in, let's not be naive into just the times that we're in. Yeah, you can hold on to your traditional norms and your traditional standards, of course, and you wouldn't be wrong in doing so. Even if it's backed by religious or spiritual beliefs as well, too, that's completely fine. Because we could, we can't necessarily say because this is the new norm in our world that this should be accepted, because every day I say that we're straying further and further away from the light, right? So I'm not necessarily trying to play both sides, folks. To be completely honest, I try to be a logical thinker and remove my emotions and my biases to the side and just think logically speaking. I can't necessarily say polygamy is wrong or immoral for all people if it's done correctly. I do think there is a correct way to be in a polygamous relationship, to be completely honest. Am I saying that I will be in a polygamous relationship? No, I'm not necessarily saying that. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think if done correctly, yeah, I'm assuming people will butt heads from time to time, and one person will get jealous and this, that, and the other. But again, if we're talking about grown, responsible, mature, consensual adults who have, came up with these terms of how they want to operate themselves within their household, I think people have the right to do so. And again, people have the right to be in favor of it. People have the right to be against it as well, too. I think it all comes down to your upbringing, your spiritual and moral beliefs, whatever the case is. But those are just my thoughts, folks. I think this topic is very interesting, as I mentioned as well, too. I spoke with a gentleman and one of his wives, maybe like a few months ago. Maybe sometime late last year. It was very interesting. It was a very good conversation that I had with that gentleman, of course, as well, too. And he shared his insights of how he operates within his house. So I think they had kids and everything. So it was a household that it seemed like they were moving as a structural unit within that household. It seemed to be working for them. Financially speaking, he was telling me how the bills are paid off, the house is getting ready to be paid off, this, that, and the other, the kids are happy, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. This person does this person does this person brings in this person brings in this. So again, from an economic, financial standpoint, I do see how some would say, hey man, times is hard. The more the merrier. I do see that. Again, from a financial standpoint, I do see how, as they say, all hands on deck. If people is bringing something to the household, I do see how some people will entertain that idea. Again, if people are under the impression that, he's just going to cheat anyway, or all men are dogs, or whatever the case is, I do see how people might just start giving in and say, hey, you know what? As the gentleman was saying as well, too, instead of me worrying, is he down at the bar? Or is he, cheating with his coworker, or whatever the case is, or is she, messing with her, whatever the case is, if we were all on the same page under an understanding that we're all, agreed to, essentially, there's no time for that. There's no time for heartbreak. Because these are things that I would assume have been discussed prior to embarking on that relationship status, that relationship type. So very interesting topic, folks. Of course, again, I'll be sure to leave the link to the video as well, too. Again, this was a debate that looks like it was 3.5 hour long debate between these gentlemen here and the good brothers over at Harley Initiated. I'll be sure to leave the link down to this video in my description, of course. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts, their comments down in the comment section below. And I will catch you guys on the next one.